Welcome back, guys, to the Ryzeal guide. Once again, I will explain to you in this quick introduction here how the guide works. I will show you the pure Ryzeal version. I will show you the Fiendsmith Ryzeal version. I will show you decklists for both versions. We'll show you the most important combos. You will know everything that you need to know about the deck if you have finished the video. I will tell you which version do I think is better. And here in the first combo, where I just threw an Ice Ryzeal pure combo, we will read over every card, every new card. If you don't want to read that, then skip to the next part that is in the timestamps, where I only show you the combo without reading all of the cards, and then in the timestamps you can see timestamps for the most important combos, and you can learn everything that you need to learn about this really good tier 0, tier 1 we will see meta deck Ryzeal. So we are starting here with Ice Ryzeal in the pure version, and Ice Ryzeal, so we are going to read here, is a rank 4, 171, 1000 defense. You can special summon this card from your hand by sending one card from your hand or field to the graveyard. Definitely the worst way to summon this, but it can come up from time to time. I will show you how. If summoned this way, you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except rank 4 XYZ monsters. This is the first important part to understand. If you special summon any of the Ryzeal monsters from the hand by their special summoning effect, because all of them have one, and then you will not be able to summon anything from the extra deck but rank 4 XYZs. This is especially important in the Fiendsmith version, where obviously Fiendsmith stuff is Link stuff and Fusion stuff. Here we in the pure version only have the XYZ, which doesn't really matter and gives us more options, but I will explain everything that concerns this when it comes. If this card is normal summon, which is the best way to use Ice Ryzeal, is basically our best normal summon, you can special summon one Ryzeal monster from your deck except Ice Ryzeal. So we are going to start with the Ice Ryzeal, a normal summon here, our best one, as I already said. Going to activate the effect, we can summon anyone here, and we are going to summon the Sword Ryzeal. So we have 5 basic Ryzeal monsters that we will use. There's the 6th one, but you never use him. We have Sword Ryzeal, this one is a Thunder, this one is a Pyro, so there's another Thunder and another Pyro, and then I think another Pyro. You can special summon this card from your hand once again by sending, oh sorry, this was the Ice Ryzeal. If you have a Ryzeal monster in your field or graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand, and once again this locks you into rank 4 XYZs. So this one is really easy to make, a really good extender. If you have any Ryzeals here, this also counts for the extra deck monsters that we will summon in a second. You can special summon the Sword Ryzeal, a very good extender. Obviously you can also normal summon him. I will show you how that works. And then if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one light Pyro monster from your deck to your hand. So this one can add any other Ryzeal or can special summon any other Ryzeal, and this one can add a Pyro. So this can, for example, add the Ice Ryzeal. In this case, we are going to add the Ext Ryzeal, the one that is at 2, which is a light Pyro. We can read him. You can special summon this card from your hand by sending one XYZ monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. This is a super important and strong effect that can help you break boards by, for example, sending the Mariologic Aggregator. This one, if it hits the graveyard, you can target a card on the field and negate the card. This is, for example, how we can out an opponent's Ryzeal Detonator, the boss monster that we will read in a second here. Very, very strong. You can also, and you will see this in the combo, chain block this, because Ext Ryzeal also searches, and then you can go chaining one Ext Ryzeal, chaining to the Aggregator in the graveyard. But there are a lot of different other things that you can send, like the Eclipse Twins. I will show you all of this when we come to the point. So at this point, we are going to summon our Ext Ryzeal. No, we don't. We go with both bodies into Infernal Flame Banshee here. Infernal Flame Banshee, we can basically detach to add to our hand a Pyro monster to the hand, and we get the Star Ryzeal, the newest one, basically. We only have one of this in the deck because this is a searcher for our field spell and makes the deck more resilient. You can special summon this card from your hand once again by detaching one material from a monster you control. This is why we made this Infernal Flame Banshee, because this still has one material. One important thing when it comes to detaching stuff, you should always detach the fire monsters, not the light monsters, because they are light or fire, because they cannot be bestial. And if you want to revive any of your Ryzeal monsters with cards that I will show in a second, then you should always go for the fire monsters, not the light monsters, for the same reason. So we have the Star Ryzeal. We can summon him by detaching from this Infernal Flame Banshee, and then if this card is a special summon, not normal summoned, you can set one Ryzeal spell trap from your deck, which is very nice. This plays around Duel and Lockbird. Very cool. We can detach to special summon the Star, and Star is going to set the field spell, the Ryzeal Cross, which we are going to activate in a second here. Let's read this. Very good field spell. You cannot XYZ summon monsters with the same name as card you control. So if you control the boss monster, the Ryzeal Detonator, keep this in mind, this is very important. And then you can target 2 Ryzeal cards in your graveyard every turn. This is very strong, except Ryzeal Cross, place them on the bottom of the deck in any order, then draw 1 card. So this always gives you a card. You can recycle your resources, but there is an important caveat to this that I will talk about in a second here. And then, this is the most important effect, once per turn when a monster effect activated by your opponent resolves, you can detach 1 material from a Ryzeal XYZ monster you control, and if you do, negate that effect. It's important to understand that Ryzeal Cross doesn't negate on activation, but on resolve. So you will build the chain link. This, for example, in this second is chain link 1, and then you wouldn't go, I chain my Ryzeal Cross to negate this star Ryzeal, this is chain link 1, but the chain will resolve, and at this point you are going to be asked by your Ryzeal Cross, do you want to negate this? The difference here is that then you cannot do something against this Ryzeal Cross because we are already resolving a chain, right? This is basic Yu-Gi-Oh, but you are building chains, and then anybody can add anything to a chain when we are building the chain. Anyone can chain something if he has the ability, and then we are going to resolve that chain backwards, and at the resolve moment nothing can be chained anymore. This is obvious if you have played this game for a while, but this is why Ryzeal Cross is so strong, because this negates on resolution, not on activation, which means you can never really interact with Ryzeal Cross, at least not if the chain already resolves. So very strong monster negate here. We are going to flip this up, and now we are going to send to the graveyard the Eclipse Twins. I will explain this card in a second here, to special our Ext Ryzeal. So the best targets that we have here is the Mariologic Aggregator and the Eclipse Twins. There are definitely options like sending a Ryzeal Dual Drive. I will explain to you in the next combo why this can be important. Then we are going to activate the special summon effect of the Ext Ryzeal, which says we can add a Fire Thunder monster from deck to hand. So the sword can add the Pyros, and this Pyro guy can add the Fire monsters. So we are going to activate this to add another Fire monster, the Node Ryzeal, which is also only a one-off, but a very good one. If you have an XYZ monster in your field or graveyard, you can special summon this card. So even if we get nipped here, for example, and the Flame Banshee goes to the graveyard, that is fine because we still have the Node Ryzeal, which can still be special summoned. Then once again, this locks us, and he has the effect that we can send 1 card from our hand or field to the graveyard and then target 1 Ryzeal monster in our graveyard, except this one here, Node Ryzeal, special summon it in defense, but it is negated. Doesn't really matter because we only need the body for rank 4 XYZs, and this is where it's very important to target fire monsters so that you can't get bestialed. Next thing we are going to do is make the Ryzeal Detonator the boss monster, and then Ryzeal Detonator will activate to attach a card from our graveyard, in this case the Eclipse Twins. Now we have a lot to explain here. Ryzeal Detonator is our boss monster here, which has 3000 attack, 2500 defense. At this point, by the way, we are obviously safe because Ryzeal Cross is now live. We have a Ryzeal XYZ monster that we can detach from, so any monster effect that is now activated by our opponent we can now negate, but we will even make this better in a second. This needs 2 level 4 Ryzeal monsters, very important. The other big Ryzeal monster, the Duo Drive, does not need Ryzeal monsters, which means with other rank 4 monsters that are not Ryzeals, you can go into the Duo Drive here, but for the Detonator you will need Ryzeals. This has the effect when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can chain this. You can detach 1 material from this card and then target 1 card on the field, destroy it. So also on your field, on your opponent's field, whenever your opponent activates a card or effect, you can detach from him to destroy a card. At this current time, we have 3 materials under our Ryzeal Detonator, one of them being our Eclipse Twins. I will explain this in a second. Also has the effect, if this card is special summoned, we can attach 1 monster from our graveyard to this card as material, as we have just seen, and if an XYZ monster we control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, we can detach 1 material from this card instead. So we have attached the Eclipse Twins, which is a very important card here. This basically gives us the ability to use 2 Ryzeal Detonators, because obviously at this point we have 3 materials, which means if we don't use our Ryzeal Cross on our opponent's turn, we can destroy 3 cards that our opponent has, which is very strong, especially against something like Malice, destroying their bodies here. But what the Eclipse Twins basically does is, so firstly, this needs 2 level 4 monsters, but for this card's XYZ summon, we can also treat a rank 4 monster we control as a level 4 monster. I will show you in another combo why this can be important, and then you can detach 1 material from this card. This card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase's turn. This can sometimes come up, but it's not the reason why we are playing this. If this card is sent to the graveyard, which it will be when we have this attached to our Ryzeal Detonator and we detach it for the Detonator's effect, we can target 2 other rank 4 or lower XYZ monsters in our graveyard, special summon one of them and attach the other to it as a material. So we always need 2 XYZs already in the grave at the moment we basically send the Eclipse Twin to the graveyard. So what you are going to do here, basically, let me try to explain this to you, is you're going to use your detonator. In this case, you use your detonator to pop something by detaching this Ext Ryzeal, and then you would detach the Star Ryzeal, and then the only material left under the detonator is the Eclipse Twins. The idea here is to use the last detonator destruction to detach the Eclipse Twins and destroy the detonator itself, because then what will happen here is the detonator will go to the graveyard where the Eclipse Twins already also is, and then there will be another XYZ. In this case we have the Infernal Flame Banshee, and then what we can do is we can use the effect of Eclipse Twins, revive the detonator and attach one of them as material. In this case we will attach the other one as material, and then because this one was special summoned, it can once again attach something as a material. So we can use this detonator here twice to destroy opponent's cards, then we can use him once to destroy itself, and then he will come back and he will have one material, and then because he was special summoned will once again activate to attach one more material from our graveyard to itself, and then you can once again attach, for example, the Eclipse Twins. Obviously you cannot activate the Eclipse Twins once again in that turn, but then you have another Ryzeal detonator with 2 more pops. So in total this Eclipse Twins under our detonator gives us 4 pops here. Obviously this also works if our board gets destroyed, then the Ryzeal detonator and the Eclipse Twins would also go to the graveyard, and if there is another XYZ monster in the graveyard together with them, you can once again resummon detonator. So even if your opponent, I don't know, Raigeki your detonator, you can obviously protect him with the effect, but let's say you wouldn't, then he can once again come back. This is why the Eclipse Twins is so important and you want to get it to the graveyard, but there are different ways to do it, and I will show you this in another combo, as I said. So here we're going to special summon the Node Ryzeal and then activate the effect to send away this Infernal Flame Banshee, because we also need this in the graveyard for the Eclipse Twins to have a target there. And then we can once again target the fire monster here, bring it back, and now we can see that we have 2 more level 4s here. We can now go into our Ryzeal Duo Drive, our other Ryzeal monster, which you can make out Ryzeal monsters, very important. For each material this card has, monsters you control gain 100 attack, and monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack. This can be very important in breaking your opponent's board, so keep this in mind. If this card is special summoned, you can attach one Ryzeal monster from your graveyard to this card as a material, and during your main phase we can detach 2 materials from this card, and if we do, or we have to do it from a monster we control. This doesn't even have to be the Duo Drive. Normally it is the Duo Drive, because obviously you wouldn't want to attach from the detonator here, because this is our interruption, but you can detach 2 materials from a monster we control, and if we do, we can add 2 Ryzeal cards with different names from your deck to your hand. So a very strong effect, one of the best effects to, I don't know, infinite impermanence. In this case, obviously, it wouldn't really make a big difference because we already have our detonator, already have our cross, which is one of the prime targets for the Duo Drive normally. But we are going to activate the effect to attach one of our Ryzeals here from the graveyard, and then we are going to detach one to add the Ryzeal plugin and another Sword Ryzeal to our hand. So what we now have here is this one still has one material, the Ice Ryzeal, and we can now use this one on our opponent's turn to negate with the cross, because we have to detach one from an XYZ Ryzeal we control. But we don't want to detach from this Ryzeal detonator, because then we can destroy one less card. So if you detach for the Ryzeal cross on the opponent's turn, use the material from the Duo Drive here. Now we have the sword, which we have already seen, and the Ryzeal plugin. Ryzeal plugin says, quick play spell, target one of your XYZ monsters or Ryzeal monsters that is banished or in your graveyard, special summon it, and then you can attach one Ryzeal card from your deck to one rank 4 XYZ monster you control. Also, you cannot declare attacks for the rest of this turn except with rank 4 XYZ monsters, which is not super relevant here. We are going to go special summon this sword because we have not yet done so, and then we can activate our cross, target the node, target the sword to shuffle them back. It's always very important that you keep XYZs in your graveyard if you have this Eclipse Twin setup. So if there would be a Duo Drive in this graveyard instead of this Infernal Flame Banshee, keep in mind to not shuffle it back, because then this Eclipse Twins doesn't work anymore. So we are going to shuffle this back and draw a card perfectly, and then we are going to set this card. You might wonder, okay, this one might be a dead card now on the field, but we can use this on our opponent's turn, and I will show you in a second. So what we are going to do here, and now I have to basically, make this a bit different, but I will show you. We are going to activate Ryzeal plugin at this point here because our opponent unfortunately didn't activate a monster effect. I couldn't use my detonator. We will have to revive this Infernal Flame Banshee here, but just imagine that once before we have activated our Ryzeal detonator, let's say we have detached an Ext Ryzeal to destroy one of our opponent's cards, and then you would obviously use this Ryzeal plugin here afterwards to not revive Infernal Flame Banshee, but to revive one of the level 4 bodies. In this case, let's say the Ext Ryzeal. So just imagine there would be an Ext Ryzeal here, not this Banshee. And what you can then do with this Ryzeal plugin is attach the trap card to the Ryzeal detonator, which firstly, this is nice because this gives him another pop, but the trap card is also a good card. Target face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of Ryzeal XYZ monsters you control, destroy them, and then you can attach one Ryzeal card from your graveyard to one rank 4 XYZ monster you control. So you could also set this card, and then you have destroy 2 more cards, and you can get your Ryzeal detonator another material. But this time around, we will use it in a different way. It also says you can banish this card from your graveyard immediately after this effect resolves. XYZ summon one XYZ monster, or XYZ summon one XYZ monster using monsters you control, including a Ryzeal monster. So what we are going to do here, basically, we are going to use our Ryzeal detonator, detach this Ryzeal Plasmahole to destroy something, and then it will be in the graveyard, and then you can banish it there to use this Sword Ryzeal and this Ext Ryzeal, remember this is not Infernal Flame Banshee, to go into another rank 4. For example, a Bagooska to stop the entire turn. On your turn you would maybe go for something like the Dugaris, but you could also go for Evil Swarm Extinction Knight, which is one of the best ways to clear the entire board. There's something to keep in mind. But here on your opponent's turn you can make another rank 4 XYZ. A Bagooska might be one of the best ones to basically, after you have used your Ryzeal detonator and your Ryzeal cross, to then end the opponent's turn and get the turn back with the follow-up you already have and can get through the Ryzeal cross. And this is what you can achieve with only one Ice Ryzeal. It's very, very strong. It's very hard to interact with this detonator. I will show you in a future video how you can basically beat the detonator. It's a very strong card, but this is what you can do with one Ice Ryzeal, a very strong combo. And here goes the Ice Ryzeal combo without the explanation, without reading the cards. Basically, we are going to normal summon the Ice Ryzeal, going to activate the effect to summon Sword. Sword activate here, and you're going to add the Ext Ryzeal. At this point, we are going Infernal Flame Banshee, because this can add as a Pyro by detaching one. We detach one here, always the fire because of Bestials, and then add the Star Ryzeal. Now we can detach the other material to special summon Star and set our field spell. We can flip up the field spell now, and now we are going to send the Eclipse Twins for the Ext Ryzeal. Ext Ryzeal is going to search Node Ryzeal, and at this point we are going to overlay into our detonator. We are safe from any hand trap, also nip here, because now we have cross and detonator life. Activate detonator's effect to attach the Eclipse Twins from the graveyard. Then we special summon the Node Ryzeal because we control XYZs, and we can send away Infernal Flame Banshee to revive the Sword. Once again, always important to target the fire monster, not the light monster, because this can get Bestials and this targets. So now we have 2 more rank 4s. We are going to overlay these into the Duo Drive. Duo Drive can now activate to grab another Ryzeal monster from grave to itself, and then we detach 2, once again, the fire monsters if you can. But this also depends on what you want to shuffle back. You could also decide to shuffle back this Ice Ryzeal. I'm more to that in a second. We are going to add the plugin and another Sword Ryzeal. Then we are going to special summon Sword because we didn't already, and then we are going to activate Ryzeal Cross, shuffle back the Node Ryzeal and the Sword Ryzeal. Once again, just to remind you, keep in mind that if you have the Eclipse Twins under your Ryzeal detonator, you will need another XYZ at this point in the graveyard. So if there would be a Ryzeal Duo Drive in your graveyard at this point, don't shuffle it back, because then your Eclipse Twins is no longer alive because you are missing one rank 4 XYZ, or basically one XYZ in your graveyard. We draw one random card here, and then we are going to set the plugin. On our opponent's turn, and I have to create this a bit now because my opponent unfortunately will not play a card here. What you will do here is you will first use your Ryzeal detonator to destroy something from your opponent by detaching either the Ext or the Star Ryzeal. And then after Ext or Star is in the graveyard, you can activate your Ryzeal plugin, resummon the Ext or the Star. So just imagine this isn't Infernal Flame Banshee, but Ext or Star. And then you will attach with the plugin the Plasmahole to your Ryzeal detonator. Then you can use your Ryzeal detonator once again to destroy something by detaching this Plasmahole, and then you have Plasmahole in your graveyard, which you can then just banish to once again make a rank 4 XYZ with this sword. And let's say this is the Ext Ryzeal here. For example, you could make a Baguska to just end the opponent's turn, maybe Evil Storm Extinction Knight, another one that you could make, maybe a Tornado Dragon. It depends on what you want to do, but the Baguska could, for example, skip your entire opponent's turn. And this is the board that you can build with one Ice Ryzeal. Now let's take a look at having the Ext Ryzeal. I will show you two different versions where there will also be something explained that is important about the deck. So we are going to Ext Ryzeal, send Ryzeal Dual Drive. Normally you want to send your Mirror Logic Aggregator or your Eclipse Twins, but this time around it's very important that we send this Dual Drive to play around Nip. You don't have to, but I will show you this play around Nip line here. I'm going to activate the Ext, grab the sword, makes more sense, and then we go special summon sword, activate the effect to grab our ice, because we have no normal summon, so ice is still live. What we can do now is go normal summon ice, and we are going to special summon our Star Ryzeal. Star Ryzeal is going to set the field spell here, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 summons, and now we can activate field spell and we can go into our duo drive. At this point we are nip safe because we have 2 materials under Ryzeal XYZ monster, but what we can now do, because we have sent our Ryzeal duo drive, is we can activate our duo drive to attach this duo drive, because obviously we will now detach 2 here, but then we will still be left with 1 material under our duo drive, which means we are still nip safe. If, for example, you send the Mirror Logic Aggregator here, which you can, or the Eclipse Twins, then we won't be nip safe at this point because there will be no materials left under the duo drive. He can only attach Ryzeals from the graveyard to himself. But I will show you how you can basically still get to the Eclipse Twins in a second with the second variation of this combo. So we are going to detach 2, then we are going to add Plasmahole and Node Ryzeal. Plasmahole is another interruption. We are going to go into a detonator here. Detonator can at this point attach something from the graveyard. It doesn't really matter. This time around it actually doesn't matter if you attach an XYZ or not an XYZ, because we don't have an Eclipse Twin in rotation here. Then we are going to summon our Node Ryzeal, and then you can send this dual drive away for once again target the fire monster, and you can make any rank 4 XYZ. Let's say we make a Dugaris here just to draw cards. You could also make a Baguska, for example. So we draw cards here and discard 1, and then we set the Plasmahole after shuffling back stuff. Once again, you can shuffle back whatever. In this case, it doesn't really matter. It makes sense to shuffle back an Ext Ryzeal because this is a good interruption, and in this case, I shuffle back an Ice Ryzeal. I think it makes more sense to shuffle back the Node, or maybe shuffle this back on your next turn because this is a very good extender. But anyways, we are going to draw a card here, and then you're going to set the Plasmahole. What you could have also done here is kept your Ryzeal duo drive, and then you have 2 pops with the Plasmahole instead of making this Dugaris here, also an option. But now I will show you, because you now have a pop here with the Plasmahole and you have your detonator, but unfortunately you will need to detach from your detonator with the cross, so this is not super optimal. I will show you another route where you can also get to the Eclipse Twins even if you send the Ryzeal duo drive here with your Ext Ryzeal. Okay, let's say we have an Ext Ryzeal here and we want to have still our Eclipse Twins set up. We need another card in hand to send away, but you obviously have cards in the hand to send away. We are going to start once again with the Ext Ryzeal sending our duo drive, so this doesn't change. We grab the Sword Ryzeal, just ignore this, it's not an Ice Ryzeal. So Sword Ryzeal grabs out the real Ice Ryzeal, this is a random card, and then we're going to normal summon Ice Ryzeal into our Star Ryzeal like before, and Star Ryzeal sets the field spell like before, activate field spell, go into duo drive and be safe from nip like we have seen before. With the duo drive search, it is where this changes, so attach the duo drive, and then we are going to search this time around for a Node Ryzeal and another Ice Ryzeal. Once again, this is not an Ice Ryzeal. And now what we can do right here is we can use these 2 here to go into Eclipse Twins, because Eclipse Twins, as I have read in the introduction thingy, says for this card's XYZ summon you can treat rank 4 monsters you control as level 4 monsters, so this is why we could use this duo drive. So now we have Eclipse Twins on the field, but obviously it needs to be gone from the field, it needs to be in the graveyard, and we can achieve this by special summoning our Node, activating Node, sending away Eclipse Twins, and resummoning once again fire the Sword Ryzeal here. Now we have Eclipse Twins in the graveyard even though we have sent our duo drive. So this is something that you can do if you have a rank 4 XYZ that you don't need anymore. In this case, this was our duo drive, but always think about whether you can still get to enough bodies to make rank 4 XYZs. And the reason why we need to discard here and have grabbed the Ice Ryzeal is because we have not yet special summoned Ice Ryzeal. We can by discarding another card, and then we have 4 level 4 monsters here, which means we get 2 rank 4 XYZs. If we would not have gotten the Ice Ryzeal, then we have 3 rank 4 materials and need to go into a big detonator basically, which you can also also do, but I think it's worse. Go into Detonator here, activate the Detonator's effect to attach, obviously, the Eclipse Twins, and then you can, discard whatever here to summon the ice, and then you can make whatever, let's say, Wicca Baguska here, and then use Ryzeal Cross to shuffle back. Once again, keep in mind, do not shuffle back both duo drives. We will still be having one duo drive in the graveyard for our Eclipse Twin rotation. Shuffle back and draw a random card, and the rest you know how to play. Okay, and now let's start with our worst combo starter with the Sword Ryzeal. The reason why this is the worst one is because we need to normal summon him, because we can only special summon him if we have Ryzeal in graveyard or field. We need to normal summon him, which makes our Ice Ryzeal worse, and Ice Ryzeal equals 2 bodies. And this is the worst part about him. Sword Ryzeal is going to grab, we would grab the Ice Ryzeal, but we can't, because we can normal summon, can't normal summon him. So grab the Ext Ryzeal, send Mereologic Aggregator to the graveyard, then Ext, and Ext is going to search here, and then you can chain block this by activating the Mereologic's effect to negate something. Obviously target the Sword Ryzeal, not the Ext Ryzeal, otherwise you're negating yourself. So we are going to negate this, can't be Ash Blossomed here with the chain blocking, and then grab the Node Ryzeal. Next thing we are going to do is special summon the Node, and then we can make the duo drive. Note here that obviously now we are very vulnerable against anything like a Nip, like an Infinite Impermanence on this duo drive, which is a very strong card, and Ash Blossom on duo drive would also be strong to keep us off 2 cards here. This is the worst combo. We are going to detach to search a plugin and to cross here, and then we can play our cross. Once again, we don't have materials under this, so we are not safe from anything, unfortunately. And then we can plug and target the Node Ryzeal to resummon it. Here we can attach another material to our duo drive. Makes sense to just attach this Plasmahole, because this can potentially give us some play on our opponent's turn, like we have just seen. And now we have a material under this duo drive, so we can now negate a monster. And then obviously we have this Ryzeal Detonator here. This time around we are going to attach the Mereologic Aggregator, which is definitely something that you will in a lot of combo nights attach to Detonator. If you detach this guy, you have seen this basically, it goes to the graveyard and you can negate something targeting. And now we obviously have Ryzeal cards in our graveyard that we can use to shuffle back and draw another card. This is what you can do with one Sword Ryzeal, but obviously you will have more cards in your hands, so normally you won't need to start with the Sword Ryzeal, but still a very strong field that your opponent has to play through, having this negate here and then triple Ryzeal Detonator, with one of them being another negate when it hits the graveyard. Alright, now I will show you Fiendsmith combos here. I think that the Fiendsmith version, and I will talk about this in the deck list in a bit more detail, is way worse than the pure version, especially because we have the Star Ryzeal now. Before it might have been the other way around, but now it is the case. Also keep in mind that they can basically lock each other out, because if we special summon one of the Ryzeals from the hand, then we are locked into XYZ. So always keep this in mind if you want to go for the Fiendsmith route, and I will show you deck lists for both, obviously. Let's say we have Engraver and Ice Ryzeal. The board will be stronger, but overall it's worse, and I will explain to you why in the deck profile part of this guide here. So we start with Fiendsmith Engraver here, and going to grab the Tract. The reason is so that we can't get Bestials. If we start with the Ice Ryzeal, then Bestial is already live, obviously, because we have a card on the field. Fabled Lurry, discard Fabled Lurry, and then make the Fabled Lurry come back to the field, and then we turn this into a Fiendsmith Requiem. We can do some cool technical plays here, and now we are not going to use Requiem here, but we are going to use Ice Ryzeal. Ice Ryzeal effect to special summon. And then here's basically a checkpoint for Fuvalos, right? Because obviously they could also Fuvalos before this Fabled Lurry turns into Requiem, but sometimes they want to get the draw, so they will Fuvalos you on this Requiem sent away, basically. But now, because our Ice Ryzeal also summons from the deck, if he wants to use Fuvalos, he basically needs to do it now, and then we can chain our Requiem, right? So we check here for the Fuvalos, and if he goes for Fuvalos, we chain the Requiem, but if he doesn't go for Fuvalos, we also need to chain the Requiem here, so we go chaining one Ice Ryzeal, chaining two Requiem. This goes away to basically summon to our field the Lacrima, and then we are going to summon the Ext Ryzeal. The reason why we need to do it like this is because Ext Ryzeal has a restriction that says where is it? If this card is normal or special summon and you control no other face-up monsters except level rank 4 monsters, then you can activate this add effect here. This is important in this Nibiru case. If you have the Nibiru token on the field, keep in mind that this Ext Ryzeal can then not search once the token is on the field, and the Requiem would have also basically said no to the search effect of Ext Ryzeal, which is why we needed to go into the Lacrima here. Then we are going to activate Ext Ryzeal and Lacrima here. Yeah, and then we are going to send with the Lacrima the Engraver, and Ext will grab the Sword Ryzeal. Next thing we are going to do is make the Ryzeal Duo Drive here, and then we can activate him to search a Cross and a Node Ryzeal. And this is cool because we have a lot of extension, even if we get nipped here, obviously. Next thing we are going to do is make our Fiendsmith sequence, and obviously there comes a point when our opponent definitely wants to nip us and we still have extension here. We are going to shuffle back the Fabled Lurry, the Requiem, and one of the Engravers here to make our Fiendsmith's Desiree. And then we are going to use the Desiree body and the sequence body to go into the Agnum Day. And Agnum Day can revive the Desiree and then equip itself to it. Now we use Engraver, shuffle back the sequence, and what we can do now is very cool here actually. We can use these here, because this is one that is equipped with something, to go into Necro-Equip Princess. Now we have 2 level 6s, and now our opponent needs to nip, because otherwise we go into Caesar here. And if you're wondering now, how do we get back our Desiree here, we still have this Lacrima, the Crimson Tears in the graveyard, so Lacrima can on our opponent's turn, during your opponent's turn, if this card is in graveyard, quick effect, you can target one Fiendsmith Link monster in your graveyard, shuffle this card into the deck, and if you do special summon that one, so we can special summon on our opponent's turn the Agnum Day, and Agnum Day's effect, which is also a quick effect on our opponent's turn, can then resummon Desiree and equip itself to it. So we have this setup in the graveyard, the Agnum Day, the Desiree, and the Lacrima to resummon basically our Desiree and equip it with the Agnum Day. So this is why you could do this. Now we can continue with Ryzeal stuff. We are going to special summon from the hand here. This is the first time we are going to a special summon from the hand. Now we are basically XYZ locked, but doesn't really matter because we are finished with Fiendsmith. Add another Ext Ryzeal, which we couldn't special summon up to this point. Ext Ryzeal special summon, sending Eclipse Twins, and then we go into a Ryzeal detonator here. Could have activated the Cross before, by the way. A little mistake here. Obviously grab the Eclipse Twins, activate the Cross. Cross can put back Ext and Ice to draw another card here. And then you can go Node Ryzeal, and Node Ryzeal can send away the card we have drawn to revive. Oh, there's a little thing here, yeah. This is an important thing. The order is a bit different. The order is wrong that I showed you here, because now we can only revive our Dual Drive. You are supposed to do it the other way around, because I'm missing a hand card here. So do not go Ryzeal Cross first and shuffle the Ryzeals back, but do go Node Ryzeal first and then send away any random hand card in your hand, yeah, and then revive one of the level 4s, right? And then you can go into something like a Baguska, and then afterwards you're going to shuffle back this Duo Drive and another one of the level 4s, and then draw a random card. So do it the other way around, but it's basically the same. You will have 2 bodies here that you can use to make a Baguska, and then afterwards use your Ryzeal Cross to draw another card, and you have a very strong interruption. You have 2 the Caesar negates, you have this where you can detach from your detonator, you have your detonator with Eclipse Twins ready, and then you will also have the ability to go for the Lacrima Fiendsmith's Agnum Day Fiendsmith's Desiree combo with this Ice into Fiendsmith Engraver combo. And now let me show you the Ext Engraver combo, because this time around we have to be a bit careful, because if we special summon the Ext, we are locked into XYZ, so we do have to do it a bit differently. Always keep this in mind with the Fiendsmith variant. Go Fiendsmith Engraver first, and then we are going to grab obviously the Tract, going to go Tract into Lurry, into fast this up Lurry, Lurry comes back, you turn this into Requiem. At this point, we will also need to use this Requiem here, because we have to do our Fiendsmith stuff before the Ext Ryzeal. We go into the Lacrima, Lacrima going to send another Fiendsmith Engraver, and then we will now normal summon the Ext Ryzeal. This was not a special summon, this is a normal summon, and we can search. So we search the Sword Ryzeal. We are still not yet locked, because we have not special summoned from the hand any Ryzeal monster, keep this in mind. And then we are going to go into our Duo Drive here. Duo Drive is going to activate the effect to grab to our hand the Cross and the Node. Next thing we are going to do is use our Engraver here, shuffle back a Lurry to summon itself, so we can use these 2 bodies here to make a sequence. And then we are going to use sequence. We are going to shuffle back Engraver, Engraver, and Requiem to make once again the Fiendsmith's Desirae. And then we are going to go Desiree into the Agnum Day together with the sequence, and then we revive our Desiree and equip Agnum Day to it, and also the sequence. This will be important in a second. And now we can Ryzeal lock ourselves, because now Fiendsmith is done. We can special summon sword from the hand. Now we are XYZ locked basically. Activate this to grab an Ext Ryzeal, which we can also now activate. We are going to send Eclipse Twins for summon of the Ext Ryzeal, activate our cross, make a Ryzeal detonator. Obviously you know the drill by now. You activate this to grab the Eclipse Twins to it. Then you go Node Ryzeal, send away this Fiendsmith's Agnum Day. You don't need it. We want the sequence because this targeting protects us, and we don't need like 5 negates at one point. 2 negates are definitely enough. Send away Agnum Day, resummon the Ext Ryzeal, and then you go into, for example, Dugaris. Could also go into Vaguska. You know the drill by now. And once again, you can't shuffle back because you only have the Dual Drive, but you wouldn't want to shuffle back because the Dual Drive needs to be in the graveyard for the Eclipse Twins. And here you have kind of the same board, a bit weaker, but with Ext it's a bit more hard because you cannot just special summon the guy. And here we have the deck profile, which I think is kind of nice to play on day one. There are definitely changes that you can make. We will talk about this in a second. I think that the pure version is way better than the Fiendsmith version. Firstly, because now we have Star Ryzeal, which definitely makes this way easier, makes access to the field spell way easier, and makes the entire combo more safe. And also because we have the Bonfire at 1, unfortunately, this deck can sometimes be a bit inconsistent, because obviously you have seen that something like the Sword Ryzeal is a worse starter. We only have 2 Ext Ryzeals, and then we have the Ice Ryzeal as the best one, and we only have 1 Bonfire. And if you play the Fiendsmith version, you can unfortunately not play a 7th Ascension and a 7th Tachyon. So if you're wondering what these cards can do, the important one is 7th Tachyon, the other one is the Ascension. The Ascension basically searches the Tachyon. So let's make it simple. Ascension is only there to search this card. Obviously this is very bad against Duel and Lockbird, which we might see in this format. You might want to put 1 Duel in for the crossout, because obviously if you use 7th Ascension first to play in the turn to search Tachyon and then get rolled, and then the Tachyon is also dead, because it says reveal 1 number XYZ monster in your Exo deck that has a number between 101 and 107. Add 1 monster from your deck to your hand with the same type or attribute as that monster and the same level as that monster's rank. Then place 1 card from your hand on the top of the deck also for the rest of this turn. You are XYZ locked, which once again makes it impossible for this card to be played in the Fiendsmith version. So the Fiendsmith version is way less consistent, which is a problem for Ryzeal. So there's basically no reason to play the Fiendsmith version at this point. And then you can show where is it? The light guy. Yeah, you can show the number 104 Masquerade, which gives you the ability to either add your Ice Ryzeal, your Ext Ryzeal, or your Star Ryzeal to the hand with the 7 Tachyon, Ext Ryzeal, and Ice Ryzeal being your best opener. So that's great, and this is why we are playing 777 Tachyon, 777 Ascension. That non-engine is just suggestion. 1 nip, I always like 1 nip, especially with so many draw cards here. You can definitely go less draw cards here, but let's talk about this. The only downside of nip, I have talked about this, is when you get the token, then Ext Ryzeal, for example, cannot search. This is something to keep in mind, which is why I don't think nip is super great in this deck, but you can play 1. Then Lancia, we still have this Melis format. You can play Lancia, but obviously you can change this up for anything, Effect Vader, whatever. You can also play maybe a Pot of Extravagance if you wanted to and make it a bit more consistent. Then we only need 1 Star Ryzeal, because we only need to summon him via, for example, the Ice, or search him in another way, just that he can get us the field spell. You can also obviously get the field spell via the Dual Drive, as you have just seen. Triple Ice Ryzeal is a must, triple Sword Ryzeal is a must. 1 Node Ryzeal is enough, then obviously Ext Ryzeal at 2. We would play this at 3 if we can. And the reason why I think Mulch Army Fuvalos and the Purulia are nice in this deck, because they are level 4. So if you ever are missing a level 4 and you have a normal summon left, you can just use them and make a Dual Drive with them to extend your plays. Note here that you can't make a detonator with them, but you can obviously also make any other stuff with them that you have here in your extra deck, which is super strong. which is why I think they are great. And Purulia is especially great against Ryzeal because obviously they summon a lot from the hand. So this is definitely Purulia's best time, at least the best time we had the card in Master Duel for a while. Then Ash Blossom, Maxi, it's a no-brainer. We are playing the Tachyon and the Ascension. I've explained this. Bonfire, because this can search as Pyros, so can search as the Ice Ryzeal, the Star Ryzeal, or the Ext Ryzeal. This is great. Then one plugin, I've shown you the combos that you can do with this, 2 called by and 1 crossout. I think they are very nice, very mandatory, because you definitely definitely don't want to get Fuward or Maxseed. If you get Fuward or Maxseed, you just make a Ryzeal Detonator and pass. This is very strong. One field spell, one Plasmahole that you don't need to play, but I think in this pure version it is kind of nice. Triple infinite impermanence, and then I have these Purulias here once again. You could also go for Drone and Lockbirds if you wanted to, but they conflict with Purulias with Maxi or Effect Vaders, for example. Effect Vading something like an Ice Ryzeal can sometimes be enough, but obviously if there's, I don't know, Sword Ryzeal or something in the end or an Ext Ryzeal, then it's a bit bad. One of the best targets in the Ryzeal deck is the Duo Drive. This is a bit worse now with the Star Ryzeal also giving you access to the field spell, but still a very good target. And then in the extra deck we are playing one Mirror-Logic Aggregator just for the negation to get this under our Ryzeal Detonator. 2 detonators are definitely enough. We have this Masquerade to search. We are playing 2 Duo Drives. You have seen why this is important. I like to play 2 Eclipse Twins. Then we can play 1 Ragnar Zero. This says once per turn, quick effect, you can detach raw material from this card, then target 1 attack position monster your opponent controls whose current attack is different from its original attack. Destroy it, and if you do, draw 1 card. Something you could, for example, do. There are a lot of different cards that you can, in theory, play in this deck. Rank 4s. You just have to decide on which ones you want to play. Obviously, Baguska, I think this is very nice. Tornado Dragon, once per turn, quick effect, you can detach raw material from this card, then target 1 spell trap on the field, destroy it. Also a potential option. One of the best cards that you should definitely play is Evil Swarm Extinction Knight, 2 level 4 monsters. This is the card that you can use to break the entire opponent's board, and you should always threaten this guy. Once per chain, during your main phase or your opponent's battle phase, if your opponent has more total cards in their hand and field than you do, which is normally the case if you go second, quick effect, you can detach raw material from this card and destroy all other cards on the field. Also for the rest of this turn, your opponent takes no damage. So you can't kill him, but you can clear the entire field with Evil Swarm Extinction Knight. Also, if you play against Ryzeal, always keep in mind that if they have 2 level 4 bodies, they can go into Extinction Knight. So very important. We're playing the Flame Banshee. You have seen why we played her. And then there's the number 60 Dugaras. I think this is one of the best ones that you can play to just draw more cards, have more non-engine, super strong. And then there's a Traptrix of Flesia, which you can play to basically use the Ryzeal Plasmaholes effect to copy the effect. This is a potential other option that you could go for, but you can see that spots like this Ragnar Zero, this Rafflesia, and this Tornado Dragon, these are definitely flex spots that you can change up. And the Infernal Flame Banshee is in theory also a flex spot, but then you cannot go for the combo I basically showed you in the beginning. And here's the Fiendsmith version. Once again, I think this is way worse, especially because we cannot play the Tachyon stuff. I wouldn't go for this Fiendsmith version, but you can if you really want to. The idea in the CCG why this was very popular is that people could side in Dimensional Barrier and then Dimensional Barrier call XYZs, and then you couldn't do anything with your Ryzeal monsters, but you could still go into the Fiendsmith stuff, obviously, because they are links and fusions. But here in Master Duel, because we have the best of 1 format, you will most likely not see Dimensional Barrier. I know that we also have said this about the Artifact Lancia, but the big difference here is that Artifact Lancia can be activated when you go first and when you go second, but a Dimensional Barrier obviously can only be activated when you go first, which this is really a card that we won't see in any main deck to counter Ryzeal. So here is where we are going to play 1 Nibiru. We're playing the 2 Fiendsmith Engravers. Once again, Lancia, change the non-engine however you want. 1 star, triple ice, triple sword, 1 node, 1 lacrima, 2 Ext Ryzeals, once again Purulias, Fuvalosses, Ash Blossoms, Maxis, then 1 Fabled Lurry. Here's an Effect Vader. Obviously we play the Bonfire because we already are super inconsistent. The Fiendsmith track, then the Ryzeal plugin. I don't have the trap in here because with the Fiendsmith version it is not that great to caught by 1 cross out. I think you still want to play 1 Ryzeal cross, 1 Fiendsmith in Paradise, triple imperm, and then for the extra deck we just go for the Fiendsmith stuff. Desiree, Princess, we have the Mirror-Logic Aggregator still, DD Wave King, you have seen this in the combo, double Detonator, double Dual Drive, 1 Eclipse Twins, 1 Baguska, 1 Evil Swarm, 1 Dugaris, and you can see these are the most important ones. The others are more flex spots, and they left the extra deck for the Fiendsmith stuff here. 1 Actum Day, 1 Sequence, and 1 Fiendsmith's Requiem for the Fiendsmith version if you want to play this one. This is everything I wanted to tell you with Ryzeal. Let me know in the comments if you have any further questions. If you like the video, please consider hitting the thumbs up. This would help out a lot, and comment in the commentary section. This helps out. Maybe you also have some suggestions. Maybe I missed something. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for being here, and we will see each other in the next one.